And hello, this is the Drupal usability meeting for July 23rd, 2019, and maybe the second last meeting on Google Hangouts. And we have one topic for today from Benji and Jennifer. Let's start with that.
Okay. And I'm visiting my mother in wonderful New York City, so if you hear some sirens in the background, don't panic. So this started with issue 2900409, which you'll see is now marked as postponed. And I think Jennifer already presented this at the usability meeting several months ago. And this issue was about when adding a reference field, the list of options was not sorted in any reasonable way. And also there were issues if different content types had the same field but used different labels for the field. So anyway, for technical reasons, it was decided to split off the sorting into a separate issue, which is why this one's now postponed. So what I really want to discuss is 3065903, which is adding options to a select render element or form element, adding options to it to let you sort it. And the technical reasons are that if we add these options, then the sorting can be done after translation and after variables have been replaced in markup elements. So this was all going along really well. And I declared it RTBC once before and then in comment 15. And then several hours after I did that, someone came along and requested additional features on this. And maybe actually I'll scroll back to the top. And let me zoom in a little bit. I think it's easier to read. For the code snippet, when you declare a form element to be type select, title and options are as before. The new options are sort options. And so here I'm declaring that I do want the options to be sorted. And sort start is 1, which means that this first option should stay at the top and all the others should be sorted. And then the proposal in comment 16 is, in addition to these we already have, introduce additional options to sort either using default sort or this so-called natural sort in PHP. That was one additional option, and then a second option to sort in ascending or descending order. A sort direction is a proposed option. So the proposal introduced in option 16 is using the PHP function strnatcmp instead of strcmp. And I guess the question is, are there any usability concerns related to those suggestions? Should we just say, that sounds like a good topic for a follow-up issue, let's get this one committed? Should we go ahead and take the suggestion and add the options and add tests for the options? Is this too many options for something in core? Should we suggest that this be done in contrib? Any opinions?
I would suggest that the work that's already been done should make it into core as quickly as possible. And this seems like the types of things that I could see at least initially going into contrib, because a lot of exploration into what options should go there would make sense rather than the limited number of people and eyeballs that have seen this already. I think having a sort added is important, but having a lot of options is just the the difference in improvement is much smaller than the fact that you've introduced an intelligent sort.
And I think, by the way, if we read the further comments, he suggests that we might not have just numbers, but something like step 1, step 2, step 11, where we would want to use the so-called natural string sort. All right, so thank you, Thomas. Any other ideas?
I haven't completely understood the issue here. So what is exactly that can be sorted?
So the options in a select list, as in this screenshot over here, this is a select element, and these are the options in it.
And what are the options for sorting it? Sorry, I just got a little bit lost with the explanation.
Currently in core, there are no options for sorting it.
Okay.
The current patch on this issue, scrolling to the top, adds these new options.
So what? Yeah. I think what actually lost me most was what you were showing later. That was the type of sorting that you were, or that was going proposed. That there were several sort types, maybe later.
Right. So the request in comment 16. And speaking of UX, my browser gives a terrible UX for finding and grabbing a scroll bar. But anyway, so starting in earlier today, in comment 16, he points out that there's a PHP function, natural string converter, STR, and NAT-CMP. And it will handle things like step 1, step 2, step 11, sorting the, I guess, sorting letters alphabetically and numbers numerically. I suppose we could get all of the details on the PHP documentation page. Wikipedia.
So what is in the patch right now?
Currently, the patch implements what's described at the top. It adds 2 new options. Sort options as a Boolean, true or false. Defaults to false. So for backwards compatibility, it has to default to false. So if you set sort options to true, then the list of options will be sorted. And then the next option is also optional. And if you want to have the first 1 or the first 2 or 3 or 4 options in their original order, then you can set sort start to be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. And that's the number of things that will be left alone. And then it'll sort all the rest.
Sorry, it's being hard to imagine. So you create a new, yeah, I'm sorry. You create a new field. Then I'm trying to imagine what a user or a site builder would see here. So you create a new field. This field has several options to choose. And then you can enable that, or it comes by default, or?
So a site builder wouldn't see this. This would be an option in the PHP code using the form API.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Sorry, I made you repeat that 3 times. Okay, I see.
So here's the form API. So the original issue, which is now postponed on the issue we're discussing now, has to do with something a site builder would see when adding what? Go to Manage Fields and add a reference field. And then when you add a reference to the, I think just to the title field, you get this drop-down list for the options by which you want to sort. I think I can actually do that here. So here I have the umami recipe type. And if I add a field, a reference to content, and it's not on the first screen, but on the field settings, then way down here at the bottom where it says sort by, this is exactly the unmanageable list that we have to deal with. And it's what, 30, 40, 50 items long, and it's not sorted by anything. And there are other problems with it too. They're also addressed in that issue, but at least this should be sorted. Or maybe we think that title should go at the top, and then the rest of it should be sorted, which is what the sort start option would let us do. But at any rate, just sorting it would be a huge improvement to this page. So that's what the original issue was about, and so the issue we're currently working on is to provide options when someone is using the form API to sort this list. But it could also be used, anywhere else someone is creating a form and they have options in a select item, a select element. So
Everything makes sense.
So the current status is there are no sort options. The existing patch provides 2 new options, one to sort and one to say leave some number of items alone at the top. And then the question is it nice to have? Is it too controversial? Does it go in a follow-up? Or what should be the status of these new suggestions that we allow sorting using the so-called natural string comparison? And what was the other suggestion?
To imagine that visually, because otherwise I can actually have an opinion. So it will be what you are just showing right now. Just next to it or below it, there will be another select or something like that, where you can actually choose how you want to order if you've chosen yes, sort by whatever.
No, it wouldn't. It would not add anything to this screen. It would just change the way these items are sorted. So there aren't any numbers in this current list, so the natural comparison wouldn't apply. But this could be sorted either alphabetically or reverse alphabetically.
In these two ways of sorting already on the patch. It's not that we are giving up opening options to people to actually add ways to sort the list.
So the person creating the sort element in the form API would be able to say, don't sort it A to Z, sort it Z to A, or Z to A.
Visually speaking, apart from this select here that says sort by, we will anyone will see anything else on the UI, no?
Right, it would still just be one sort element with one list of options.
a clear improvement.
And I think this could come up at any time someone has a list of options that are generated programmatically. So yeah, it's clearly a big improvement to be able to sort it. And now the question is, when you decide how to sort it, should you have additional options? And say not only whether to sort and how many things at the top to leave alone, but should we add an additional option to sort in reverse order? Should we add an additional option to use the natural sorting?
Is just on the form. Sorry, on the. So you wouldn't see that on the UI. These new options that you're mentioning.
No, the new options would just be in the form API, so in the PHP code.
From API, right.
You could optionally add the 2 new options at the bottom here.
Why we wouldn't give the option to do that? Can be any controversial here?
Well, one particular, not especially good reason is that, well, we already have a patch and let's get it in. Another argument is that that this natural string comparison is sort of an edge case that not many people would want it. It's not important enough to be in core, or it's controversial enough that it might sometimes have unexpected results. We might say go ahead and do it in contrib, although I'm not sure that that's really a possibility. To do it in contrib, you might have to create a new type of form element to use instead of the standard select element, which would be sort of a maintenance burden for the contrib module. So yeah, I'm certainly not saying that it's a terrible idea to have it in core. I think it would be hard to do in contrib, although it's possible. Yeah. Being one of the 3 people who's looked closely at the issue, I'm sort of in favor of going ahead and committing it, but that's not necessarily the best reason for other people to follow.
So 2 quick questions. One, can it be committed and a new core change, so a new issue be spawned for continuing to research additional changes in the future so that we can get the functionality that has been tested in? And 2, do we have any performance concerns with excessively long lists and introducing something like a natural sort, which is going to have more overhead to it than simply going after the standard sort, alphabetical sort?
We could certainly create a follow-up issue. And the current issue is already marked as a blocker of the issue we started with. And I think the only performance would be if someone decided to use the proposed new option. And even then, I don't think it would be a particularly big performance hit. If someone chooses not to use the option, then it would only add a few microseconds because PHP is reading a few more lines of code. So I don't think there are any real performance problems with it, but we could certainly create a follow-up issue.
Thank you.
And perhaps the best reason for doing that is that this issue has already been marked as a blocker of something that has real user-facing impact.
I'm also wondering if the natural sort sounds like it warrants more investigation, but perhaps it's also introducing a new pattern for sorting, period. And it would be more appropriate to say, in general, any sorts that are happening, should we review if they need to be updated to use natural sort if that is considered better, rather than deviating in individual instances? Is that a concern or not something to think about?
I think it's not a bad idea.
I'm happy with anything that comes out of this. I think they're all improvements over what we have today. So it gets my blessing. I just think it's up to the folks who've been working on the patch to determine if they want it to go straight in and spawn a new issue or a follow-up, or if they want to keep this one open indefinitely while they try to investigate.
We certainly don't want to keep it open indefinitely. I do also know in the Migrate API, the maintainers have a policy that things that are used in the core migrations go into the core migrate module. And other useful things that even things that are commonly used in custom migrations all go into the contrib modules, Migrate Plus and Migrate Tools. So obviously we're not bound by that policy here, but sort of the spirit makes sense that on the core page for adding a field to a content type or some other entity, we don't need these additional sort options. So that's an argument that perhaps they don't belong in core and perhaps they don't belong in the current issue. So I agree that there's a pretty strong case to be made for handling these in a follow-up issue.
I would suggest that the one thing to watch and that we should maybe consider is increasing the complexity. I'm not sure if everyone will necessarily understand what these various sorts are going to do for them. So keeping it simple in core seems in line with the approach that we typically take, which is, again, it's not to say that with additional time in a follow-up issue, new changes may be introduced into core to accommodate natural sort, because it sounds cool. It just, I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to hold up a direct improvement and keeping that improvement as simple as possible for implementation, for site builders as well as the developers who are working on the patch.
Okay. And I will summarize these comments on the issue, and I will probably even open a follow-up issue to deal with the suggestions. And I think that Jennifer will be pretty happy with that outcome.
Information. All right. Anything else? Yep. Any other issues that people want to raise?
Maybe I can show an issue. I think it was already shown maybe last week or the week before about embedding media on CK editor, I think. I'm gonna show the screen. Okay, so is to render the media items embedded in CK editor.
For the recording, can you read the issue number?
Yeah, 2994696. So yeah, mainly this issue is how the media is going to be rendered once it's added into the CKI editor. So my feedback has been mainly discussing two small things from this huge issue. I'm trying to find the images for that. So there are two main situations or two main problems that can happen here. One can be here. One can be, for example, here, that is a situation where the media that was referenced can't be found anymore. It can be either because, well, the normal situation is usually because the media has been deleted or something like that, and this node hasn't been updated and it still has the reference to the old media. So it's normally this problem. And from here, my feedback was mainly that first, the icon shouldn't be this one. It should be something that is not actually suggesting that something is forbidden, because this icon is usually used for, I don't know, for example, for traffic lights or for traffic signage, when you can't actually go into a road or something like that. And my suggestion was using, for example, a link like this one, a link that is broken or something like that. And also one of the contributors showed this option also as an icon. So there are two options. And then there's another situation. Well, that's one thing. One is the option, the icon, and the other is the text that is showing is placed here. Mainly, we were trying to say, because when Laura explained me this issue, he mentioned that mainly the situation where this media was going to be missing is because what I said, the reference was broken because the media was deleted, so the media wasn't found. And we were proposing a text message, but it seems that there can be some edge cases where the reason is another one. It's just that, for example, the connection has been lost or something like that, and it can't be found or something like that. So I was proposing having another text that would say that will give you both the message that something is going wrong and also some next actionable step. And I was proposing something, well, it's a variation from what was being proposed by Lauri and someone else, I think, that will say that the referenced media source is missing and needs to be re-embed from the media library, or at least saying that needs to be re-embed. So at least you're giving the user an idea of what to do now that they got an error, what they should do to fix that. And that's one of the things. Another one is that there's another message that I think it's when there has been an error and the media can't be loaded, or no, can't be actually, I think, represented, because maybe there's been a connection error or something like that, and it just, so the faster way to fix that is to refreshing the node. And yes, it's usually an error when you are when the media is trying to be rendered here, then it's not possible. So I think it's the message is loaded via Ajax. I'm not very sure. And then one of the proposals was making this or styling this error like the ones for classy or for from 7 or something like that, and kind of loading these styles from the admin theme or something like that. And it has several problems. First one, if we are loading this for the Ajax, we should give exactly the same styling for any other error. And these errors are not prepared, for example, to have an icon like the one we are having here. And yeah, we should have exactly the same or similar styling for messages. And the other thing that I was mentioning, what was that? Yeah, it was mainly that these styles are not prepared for working in line either. So do you have any other suggestion to this or any feedback that I can just trespass into the issue?
I like the new icon better.
Which one? This one or
The second one, the one that the question mark, yeah. That matches what I'm used to seeing for missing assets. The no pass, the forbidden sign seems to be more of a permission error, was my first interpretation.
Exactly. And what about an icon like a link but like broken? I think I have it here.
I would probably show an icon like an exclamation mark that if you clicked it, it gave you a longer message, and it would only appear. Like I wouldn't add a lot of noise to what people were looking at in case they had to see it over and over again, but something that would direct them to what you wanted them to do. I do agree that more instruction than missing media is helpful, something actionable, but putting a lot of information there could result in impacting or distorting if they're working around a given issue. So if the media is missing temporarily for some reason, or they put in a placeholder and they're expecting something else to come down the line, I wouldn't want to put lots of error messages in their face. I'd want to keep it reasonably subtle, but definitely actionable and noticeable. That's just my opinion, though. Like, I am not an expert in this area at all. So that's just me as a site builder.
So I agree that the question mark icon is better than the forbidden icon. I guess we all agree on that. I wonder if you already considered and rejected the standard broken image icon.
Broken image icon. I'm not really sure if I know which one.
So if just in HTML you have an image element, source equals example.com/foo.jpg, then the browser will show you a pretty standard broken image icon.
Maybe that's something like that.
Yeah. So I guess the second one from the left is
this one.
Some of these are a little amusing. I guess they're
something like that is what I was suggesting. Wow, like this or yeah.
Maybe it's less standard than I thought it was, but But yeah, I think that the question mark is good. But as for a longer message, I'm not really sure that either of your proposals are more actionable. If I'm a site builder, what exactly do I have to do to re-embed? Do I have to go to the media library? Do I have to edit a particular media item, or is that media item already gone? Do I actually have to do the editing on the current page?
So more than a site builder, probably an editor that doesn't know much about how to do that. And probably if you say to that person, media library is going to stay the same, because probably they are not going to know what's a media library. But I think I'm even probably that re-embed concept is not probably the best one, but something like you have to add it again or something like that, because they will know what's the icon to adding media. So they have to add it again or double click that there, I think. I'm not really sure actually what's the step. But they have to go to the media library again. So I'm not really sure about the wording, but at least it should have like a clue to know where to start.
So I guess what I really want to see is what do I actually have to do to fix this? And then I'll understand what sort of message will point me in that direction. And my impression is that the two suggestions you made are longer, which is bad, and don't give me any more direction than just missing media, because I still don't know what I'm supposed to do. And if it's longer and it actually tells me where to go, then it's worth being longer. But if I'm still not sure what to do, then why make it longer?
So would it make more sense to say click the button that has an image or something like that, the button to add images, or double click here, or is it something like that you're saying?
I don't know. If I double click on the missing media, does that bring me to a screen where I can fix it?
I don't know. I really don't know. So my question is, figure out if you're thinking on like if we are assuming that the person that is here really doesn't know how to add media. So if we can assume that that person really knows so that much, see, that doesn't know at all. I don't know. So to not get blocked here, I will ask what are exactly the steps to read the media, and see what can be actually convert into Word. So it's more easy to understand, or at least has more direction.
Yeah, I know how to add media, but with the short media missing message or with the longer ones you suggested, either way, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure the longer message can be shorted to missing media, add the media again, or re-link the media again, or something like that. I mean, so the concept can be easily shorted. Sorry.
Yeah, but the problem is with any of these messages, even if it's a little bit shorter, I still don't know what to do. And I'm a fairly sophisticated user. I know how to add media, but I don't know. Still not clear to me whether I have to edit the current node to fix it, or whether there's some media item that I have to edit. And if there is a particular media item that I'm supposed to edit, then I want to link to that.
So what
It
if
takes me directly to the edit page.
so what if we, for example, I'm not proposing that, but to try to solve your concern, what if we, for example, add a button here and say, hey, click on the red button that you have up there? Will that solve your concern?
Click on the red button up.
So yeah, I don't know, something like that. I mean, that the person that is reading the message can clearly see.
Yes, if there's a red button that I can push and fix my problem, then I want to be told to push the red button. Although usually I'm told not to push the red button.
Yeah, no, I don't understand, but that's what I mean. I mean, so here, probably the concept to relink or re-embed the media is clear for someone that knows how to do that. But maybe here we really need something that says relink here, and maybe is a link that actually opened the media browser or something like that. Click here to solve that or something like that.
Right, and frankly, just opening the media browser probably isn't enough, because the media browser opens with a list of all of my existing media. Well, what am I supposed to do next?
Well, I guess we should give a clue. We shouldn't give all the instructions here. So the first step should be said only, I think. So yeah, something like, so if, for example, the way to solve that is right click and open the drop down or the quick edit or something like that, or double click and then a pop-up shows up or dialog shows up or something like that. If this is the step, then we can figure out how to make that clear. Make that clearer that that's a step. Okay, I'm gonna try to talk about that with the people in there and see if something like this is possible, and see what exactly is the step to actually fix this.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all that I have.
All right. That sounds like a great meeting. Unless there's something more to discuss.
Nope.
If not, then great. Thanks both for bringing your issues. It's a great discussion. Have a nice week. See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye, thanks.